Residents get a first-hand look at the beginnings of a new casino in Prince George's County. Good evening. This is CTV News. I'm Byron Scott.
And I'm Rochelle Metzger. Thanks for joining us tonight. Well, police make an arrest in the stabbing death of a man in Greenbelt last night. Authorities say the suspect, 38-year-old Patrick Hunter, lives in the area. He's now behind bars. Around 10 o'clock last night, officers responded to a call about an incident at an apartment building in the 9100 block of Edmonston Road.
Officers responding to the scene observed the victim that was lying on the couch, suffering from apparent stab wounds to the neck area. He was transported to Prince George's Community Hospital, where he was pronounced dead. The suspect was arrested on the scene without incident, and he has already gone before the commissioner. He's been charged with first-degree murder, second-degree murder, and first-degree assault. He's currently being held without bond.
Officials say there may have been some kind of altercation between the two men just before the crime occurred. Hunter is being held without bond until the trial. Police are not releasing the name of the 38-year-old victim until family members have been notified. Well, the attorney for a man at the center of a case involving alleged police misconduct speaks to CTV News. The state's attorney announced the indictment of Prince George's police officer Jenchevsky Santiago at a press conference on Friday. Santiago allegedly approached that car that 36-year-old William Cunningham was in as it was parked outside his Bowie home last May. Cunningham's attorney, Gabriel Christian, says Santiago pressed the barrel of his gun to his client's face and threatened him. There is cell phone video of the incident shot by a witness from inside the car. There is no audio, and it's not clear what happened before Santiago is seen with his weapon drawn. Christian wouldn't let us film the video, but narrates it as we watch it together.
You know, he's not fighting the officer, he's not resisting the officer, he's not disorderly or anything like that. Officer Santiago violently pushes Mr. Cunningham away from his front step, puts the gun on his forehead, rests it on his forehead for at least 10 seconds, and then puts it into his mouth, and then holds him around the neck, pushes him towards the car, all the time yelling at him and cursing him and telling him he's just been back from Iraq and that he's not scared of any of them, and threatening his life. So that's essentially.
Christian says he does plan to file a civil claim on behalf of his client, but not until after the trial. Santiago is charged with assault and using a firearm in the commission of a crime of violence. He has been on the force 3 years and is suspended without pay. Well, David Harrington is well known in Prince George's County and the region. He served as a state senator and currently is the president and CEO of the Prince George's Chamber of Commerce.
Harrington recently visited Ferguson, Missouri, the scene of upheaval following last year's death of Michael Brown. He spoke there with people in Ferguson, and he's here tonight to talk about his impressions. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
This is your first time in Ferguson?
Yes, it was.
What were your impressions as you arrived?
Yeah, I was surprised. You know, it's been portrayed as a rundown area that has a lot of crime. But when I rode through Ferguson, there was great commerce. The city is very diverse, although it is primarily an African-American community. And I think the media stories have done the disservice, for Ferguson.
Now, during the upheaval that followed the grand jury's decision, many of us saw Wesley Bell on television. Tell us about him and why you're backing him for council, which is kind of why you went to Ferguson, correct?
Well, actually, I had a family member pass away, and
I'm very sorry to hear that.
no, it's okay. And I said, well, let me visit Ferguson. As I was driving around, I ran into Wesley, and we had an opportunity to talk, and I was just very impressed. And I thought that he really is part of the change that needs to happen in Ferguson. And so we scheduled some time, and I said, look, let's go knock on doors, and I'm definitely going to plan to send him a donation as well.
So you met him, liked him, and decided to help him with his campaign.
That's right. And it was a wonderful way to get to know the city because I met the residents for themselves. They really love their city. And frankly, they're a little bit tired of all the demonstrations there because they feel like this doesn't represent them, and the change that needs to happen is to elect new people who's going to put forth a grander vision for the city of Ferguson.
Now, you were there last weekend.
Yes.
And I understand while you were there were protests still going on.
That's right. That's right. There was a protest, and we were knocking on doors and meeting the residents, and there was a protest. And both Wesley and I, came to the conclusion, wouldn't it have been great for those 100 or so people that were there to make sure that people got out and vote the election is April the 7th, and come out and vote, and then be part of that change that needs to happen in Ferguson.
What was it about Mr. Bell that impressed you enough to go knocking door to door with him?
He just impressed me with his desire to serve. This wasn't an ambition for him. This wasn't something that, he was longing to do. He just felt that I have the temperament, I have the background, and I really want to help change my city. And so I was just really, really impressed with his reasons for running.
Mm-hmm.
And he wants to change the city, but Ferguson, Missouri really is reflective of so many cities in the United States that's dealt with tensions and issues between police and the community. Prince George's has come a long way in building its community outreach and its relationship between police and the community. Are they talking about things that they can do to make a positive impact? How is Prince George's doing, do you think, on that front?
Well, very fascinating question. I think it's a very good question because it reminded me of Prince George's. As soon as I rode there, I said, this looks like the old days of Bladensburg when I was mayor. And so for them, they're at that stage right now where they need to elect different leadership and the diverse leadership so that they can feel like that they represent the people there. For Prince George's, yes, we've come a long way, but now we have to deal with the economics, our school system, and what have you. And I sense that as they make changes in leadership, they'll have to do the same.
Right.
Now, you sense he's in a good position to win the race, but
I think he's going to win.
The voter registration, is that in place? Is that machine
it is in place. That machine is in place, very much so. People are registered. The sense that I got that people are very excited about the campaign. The question's going to be turnout.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Thank you so much for joining us, Mr. Harrington.
Glad to be here.
Fascinating, and we're glad that you learned a lot on your visit.
Yes.
And the election April 7th, correct?
April 7th.
Okay. Thank you very much.
So if there's anybody listening from Ferguson, April 7th.
All right.
Thanks.
Well, it is being called the greatest economic project in Maryland's recent history, and today we got a first-hand look at the construction at the MGM Resort and Casino. CTV's Sonia Shrivastava has more from National Harbor.
Well, MGM tells us that they have hired their 1,000th construction worker for this project, and today they really wanted the media and some of the officials to come here and get a chance to look at what's been going on. They tell us that the project spiraled and was done so quickly that they never really had an official groundbreaking. The MGM Resort and Casino project is one step closer to reality. For months, we've seen it in animation and a replica, but today we got a first-hand look at the progress. Since the work started last summer, more than 500,000 cubic yards of soil have been removed and hundreds of thousands of pounds of concrete is being laid.
70% of MGM project revenues will come from non-gambling sources. And to me, that means more revenue to pay for important programs and a great mix of great jobs.
The $1.2 billion project started out at the ballot box, and today MGM announced that it has hired its 1,000th construction worker. As the excitement grows, so is the frustration among some Prince George's residents who say they are being shut out of the bidding process.
We're not seeing it. We're seeing everybody else come to our jobs, but that's the question. That's the underlying question. We don't mind, the work going to everybody else, but what about PG or Prince George's County residents first?
But a spokesman for MGM says the project is only about 8% complete, and it plans to honor the community benefit agreement.
As you can see around us today, we have 6 cranes in the air and many things going on. Things are going to ramp up very quickly. So we are out there working with businesses, taking bids, and we hope very much to work with as many minority contractors as possible on this project.
County resident Janie Oliver has worked as an electrician for almost 30 years. She says she's proud to be on board.
I have a grandson, he's 2 years old, and I just thought it would be pretty neat. He gets a little older, he could drive by and said that, hey, Grandma had a part of this site. So.
Once completed, the resort on the shores of the Potomac River will include 23 floors, a 300-room luxury hotel, a casino featuring 3,600 slots, and much more.
But think about it. Folks that are staying in Washington, D.C. in the hotels or Northern Virginia, they have a reason now to stay an extra day in the area to come over here, go to MGM, go to Tanger Outlets, go shop and dine down on the waterfront. So it's not just a benefit for Prince George's County, but the entire metropolitan Washington area.
Rashern Baker in his FY 2016 budget unveiled plans to raise property taxes to raise money for education. But many residents are asking, why can't the county use revenue it gets from a project like this?
MGM will be up and running in 2016, but the revenues from MGM won't come to the county until about 2018. Of that, the amount that goes into education is really the formula from the state that will come down. So we can't wait to make an investment in our school system for 2018.
Now, officials here tell us that the project will be completed at the second half of 2016, and they're hoping that by that time they will be able to employ more than 3,000 people here at the MGM Casino. I'm Sonia Srivastava. Back to you all in the studio.
MGM Resorts says as a whole it has spent more than $1.7 billion on hiring minority-owned firms for various construction projects. And you're watching CTV News. I'm Byron Scott.
And I'm Rochelle Metzger.